Okay, so my name's Jacob Thompson. I am an ex-culture coach here to deliver a webinar on SWOT analysis. Um, this is going to be, as again, a live one. So if anybody has any questions or anything, just raise their hand. There'll be Q&A, or if there's any questions after the webinar, please feel free to reach out to me via my ex-culture email, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about this or any other international business topics or even X-Culture itself. So take a look here. So kind of the overview of this webinar is going to be listed right here. Obviously, you've done the introduction. We're going to define what SWOT really means, what those four letters are actually mean. As you can see, it says strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we'll go into those more in depth as we go through this presentation. We'll also look at how to make your own SWOT analysis, and I have a few examples I can show you as well. And how you can utilize your SWOT analysis in X-Culture, international business, and I've even found ways to use it outside of X-Culture. So as you're going through your educational and professional careers, this would be a great tool to use as you're going through. So that's what we discussed real quickly. So we'll start off real quickly with a definition of SWOT. So what does SWOT mean exactly? So SWOT is obviously S for strengths, W for weaknesses, O for opportunities, and T for threats. One comparison that I found that really works is the balance sheet of analysis for business, really. So we all have heard of what a balance sheet is and how the assets and the liabilities are supposed to equal each other out. SWOT is no different. The assets of the SWOT analysis or your business are your strengths and opportunities. Those things are what you can help your business, whereas the liabilities would be the weaknesses and the threats. Where did SWOT originate from? SWOT was originated by Albert Humphrey of the Stanford Research Institute in the 1960s. He had done it to help businesses such as Fortune 500 companies plan and execute for the long term, because a lot of them were trying to do that and being met with a lot of failure. So him and his consultation firm proposed SWOT, or identifying strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, to hold themselves accountable and to remain objective. And it hasn't really taken off from what I can find in the data until recently. I know when I went through my college courses, I didn't know what SWOT was until I gone through it, and then I realized how important it really is once you kind of get into it and use it and see how prevalent it really is. So let's see here. Okay. So we'll start off the first part of it, the first corner. Is the strengths. So as I said earlier, the strengths are one of the assets of the SWOT analysis if you want to use that balance sheet comparison. Strengths are typically defined as the features of the business that allow them to be more effective than competitors. What is it that your business is strong in regards to others in your market or in competition with you? They can be a variety of things. It doesn't have to be necessarily the tangible products. Your product doesn't have to be strong, but it could be the knowledge that your business has. Maybe you have skilled labor unlike any others, and that's just a strength of your business. It could be innovative ideas, or it could be low overhead. It can be anything that strengthens your business as a whole and makes your business stronger. Questions that you can ask yourself to kind of identify strengths of your business would be, what do you do that makes you do business well? So is it how you do business, as in what's your process? Is it a simplified process? Is it efficient? Is it low overhead? Is it low cost? Do you make a lot of profit margins off of it? Things like that. And you can identify that as a strength and say, this is what my business is doing to make myself strong. Or what competitive advantages do you have over your competitors? What do you have that another business might not have an edge in? Or the last one that I really implore is, what makes your business stand out? Is it uniqueness? Is it easy to use, easy to understand? All those sorts of things would be strengths in the SWOT analysis and definitely need to be identified. Examples of strengths in international business would be a business, if a business is looking to grow internationally, then strengths of that business would be ease of use. Is your product easy to use? Is it easily accessible? Can you get into a new market easier? Things like that. Things simple from what I've seen. And if you want to look at some strengths of businesses, I can show the example later that I have that will kind of give a better idea. But things that, can you make your business strong in a different market, and how do I do that? Would be the core takeaway from strengths of a SWOT analysis. Definitely a key part. Identify the assets, and what makes you stand out. So then the counterpart to that is weaknesses. So as we all know from the balance sheet, there's always a asset to a liability. So weaknesses in this case would be the liability part of it. So what is a weakness in the SWOT analysis? If we want to stick with the balance sheet comparison, they're the liabilities that are paired up with the assets of the strength analysis, or excuse me, SWOT analysis. Simply put, for every strength that a business has, there is going to be a weakness to fulfill and address. They're not necessarily a bad thing for the business. They're just areas that you're weak in and need to be identified so that you're not blindsided, or you can improve upon them. They can take on the forms similar to strengths. It can be that your product may not be easy to use. It could be expensive. You may have high overhead. It's something that just weakens your business in addition to the strengths that you've already identified. Excuse me. So you may have the most unique product in the market. It could be brand new, but it's really expensive. So there you have a strength, but you have a weakness to come in the middle and kind of equal out each other. So, excuse me. Another thing that could be a weakness that I found in using SWOT analysis is that you could have a large market share, so you could own up a good portion of the market while not maintaining a monopoly, of course, but you can have a large market share, but your product is unoriginal, it's stale, people have already seen this product, and they're not too interested in it. So questions that you want to maybe ask yourself here would be, is there anything that my business can be doing better? What are some of the things that my business is doing badly? And badly is kind of a loose, you could say that they're doing poorly. Can it be improved upon? That's a good area. We can talk about that later on, or we can view those as opportunities and threats. Those will be identified later. And then another question, what are some common problems or complaints about my product or the business? So what are consumers saying about your product, and how is that a weakness? Are they saying that the product's not unique, it's costs too much, it's just not useful, and it needs to be more innovative? It could be even as simple as it needs to be more green, because I know that a lot of things in the world now are being tied to the environment. Maybe people are saying that, maybe this product isn't helping the environment, or that it needs to be better. And that could be a weakness, and that could be detracting from your customers. So all things to look at. Are you going to always have equal amount of strengths to weaknesses? Not necessarily. You could have more strengths to weaknesses, but to keep the analysis balanced, having strengths and weaknesses kind of give that business that equality. So for every strength that you might have, you may have a weakness. Not always, but it's most of the time it is. All right. So the next part of the SWOT analysis is opportunities. So the O. So opportunities are another asset of the SWOT analysis. So they are not the same as strengths, because strengths are things that you're doing well. You could be low price, low overhead, things that your business is doing well, and that's what's making you strong. Opportunities are assets in a different idea, that these are opportunities outside of the business that you can take in and think, that I can explore my business to expand, and there's a brand new market for my product to get into. Maybe the younger generation can use this product, or the older generation, whatever it may be. These are opportunities that you can take advantage of for your business. So opportunities could be trends, variables, like factors around the market. They could be anything that just gives your business that opportunity. Um, it's not to say that these opportunities can't be forged into a strength. So say that there's an opportunity for a large market share and your product takes a great foothold in the market and absorbs that large market share, then that can become a strength as well. So if you look at it that way, it could be the baseline to a strength, and you can take that opportunity and make it into a strength, but it won't come easily. It will be obviously with a lot of work, and you have to ensure that you identify and exploit appropriately. Questions or examples, I should say, examples for opportunities could be, but not limited to, changes in technology. Technology is advancing rapidly nowadays. We're becoming more streamlined. We're becoming even more globalized. And a lot of businesses, even going international, are taking advantage of that. And that's a great opportunity for a business that's looking to expand, is how can I get in there via technology? How can I use technology to grow my business? Is it email, Facebook, Instagram? Huge opportunity there. It could be changes in the market. It could be, looks like we have a guest. All right. Hi, April. All right. So let's see here. So welcome, April. Thanks for joining us on this webinar. I'm glad that you could make it. Just going through the SWOT analysis right now. We're working on the opportunities part. So if you have any questions or anything, if you want me to kind of give you a rundown or something like that, or if you want to just catch up, I can definitely do that. But as I was saying, opportunities, excuse me, opportunities can be changes in the country itself. So there's a lot of changes within the climate of it. It could be the political, the cultural, the environmental, definitely anything that changes there. Mentioned earlier the political part of it. It could be a change in the form of the government or government policies to ease up doing business. I know some countries it's difficult to do business, but recent changes in the policy could allow for you to do business easier in that country. It's mainly just doing that research and seeing what's changed. There's also opportunities could be local, national, global events that shift markets and tastes. Obviously, the world is not a static place to be in anymore. It's very dynamic, and things are always happening that could really open up an opportunity for your business. And lastly, the other opportunity could be social factors. It could be people's attitudes towards products. It could be consumers found that a similar product to yours didn't perform up to standard. Now they're going to look at yours, and you can adjust accordingly and say, this is an opportunity. These folks are looking to buy our product, and we should take advantage of it. So whether internationally, locally, however you may look at it, opportunities are always present and can always be identified. All right. And then the last piece of the SWOT analysis is the T. T is in threats. So threats, we're going to use the balance sheet comparison, are the liability of the SWOT analysis. So now we have two assets and then now two liabilities to make a perfect four-square analysis. So what exactly are threats? Threats are the counterbalance to opportunities. These are things that could threaten your business in terms of the opportunities that have been presented to you. They can be internal, they can be external, but they are anything that can threaten your business model. They could be even short-term or long-term threats, depending on how you identify them and what the response to those are. So questions that you could ask yourself. What are some obstacles that my business is facing now or could be facing in the future? Whether it's an internal, it could be the employees' labor, it could be the skilled or unskilled labor to build your product, could be that rising costs could create large overhead. It could be anything like that. It's just observing those trends and say, this could really threaten our business model. We need to address this as soon as possible. So some examples of that, it could be that governments make legislation in the area that you're doing business that can make business operation difficult. If they decide to pass a law where you're not able to do business as easily as before, that would be a threat, an external threat, excuse me, that could affect your business model. Now you have to figure out how to work around this law or work with the government to make sure you're not breaking the law or performing business illegally. As I stated earlier, an internal threat would be lack of skilled staff, labor, or even knowledge. You could be a new startup business and you're really excited and really ready to get out there, but you don't quite have the expertise and the knowledge quite yet when you're first starting out, and that could be a threat to your business and something you identify and say, I don't have the skilled labor. It's out there, but right now my business doesn't possess that. So just something to keep in mind when you're going through your business plan to make sure it's identified. And a couple other external threats that I could find. The competitor introduces a unique product to the market. So you guys have similar products, but your competitor decides to bring out the latest and greatest model, and it's got a bunch of different features and benefits, and yours doesn't. Now consumers are going to be swayed potentially to go to them, and that threatens your bottom line. So something like that could be an external threat. It could be the product is different, it's cheaper, whatever it may be, but it threatens your business model. Or an internal threat could be, one thing that I found would be the financial issues of your business. So you could be creating a loss of profit or having to write off a lot of bad debts, things like that. It could be your financials are not quite up to speed, or you're not making enough money to sustain business, and that could be really threatening to your business model. If so, I would probably consider looking at it as soon as possible. So we talked a lot about how to do, what is SWOT exactly? What do those four letters mean? Obviously, they mean a lot of things. They're like the balance sheet of the business plan that I found. And so how do you make your own, though? And it's really easy. The glory of SWOT analyses is that any business professional, regardless of experience, can generate one. So if you've never done one, and I've been in this position, you can make one. It's not super difficult. It doesn't require that much knowledge or effort, but the more you know about it, the better you can become at it. Obviously, the more practice with something, the better you'll get at. So the key to creating a different analysis from others is the amount of research that is done. So research should entail your own company, your competitors, your products, your competitors' products, the market in which you operate, that you might be looking to operate in, and so forth. The other part of it is that the more research, the more questions that you can ask yourself within strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the better your analysis and the stronger your analysis will be, because you're able to answer all these questions and get a really good full picture of the whole diagram. It's key to remember that not every SWOT analysis will look the same, because people may look at things differently. One may look at something as a strength where others may look at it as a weakness. No SWOT analysis should ever be the same for every business or department of business or wherever it may be used. So just keep in mind that they're going to be very different, and that's okay. Just remember that people's perceptions are different, so what you might be able to think is a strength could be a weakness to another. Same with opportunities, could be a threat to someone else. So now that you have all that research and information, you've answered all the questions, and you've really gone through and made sure that you have detailed your SWOT analysis, it's time to diagram it now. I've got an example of one here, actually. Let's see if I can bring it over for you real quickly. So the most common SWOT analysis, this is one that I use in my career at university. We did a Thai food truck business for a managerial class, and see, this is what we came up with: the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of that. So um, just to go through, we found that in our area there were no other Thai food trucks. This is a pretty original idea, and we viewed that as a strength. It was pretty inexpensive, so we had low overhead and could generate a lot of profit. But the weaknesses, then we found that could be the quality of food. There could be some health regulations going back to those. Um, Actually, that could be considered a threat. See, here we go. So, what we as a group we decided was a weakness could actually be seen as a threat. But could be that we found that the health regulations, or it's a small area to work inside, and maybe employees are not too comfortable with that, and that would just be kind of a weakness for us. Some opportunities that we found is, again, low labor costs. We had room to expand, which was a great opportunity for us. If our business was successful, we were able to get more food trucks and really grow our business. But the threat of that is that with that, other people could get the hint that we're pretty popular, and then next thing we know, that people decide to jump in on the food truck game, and now we have competitors, and that would be a threat to us. So to get back to the point here, the idea is that Word or Open Office or whatever may work for you is a good way to diagram this and kind of get your bullet points. That's the key part of it. Is you want to get too wordy, but just wordy enough that you're getting your point across. And this is a great way that we used to generate our SWOT analysis. So I would highly recommend using this, even putting it on line paper and drawing it out before really helps, and then putting it into a Word document or word processing or whatever it may be to kind of give a visual is probably the best way. I've seen others use table diagrams and other models, but typically you would want to have something that shows all four pieces. So you want to make sure you have obviously your strengths in one corner, your weaknesses in another, opportunities in the third, and threats in the fourth, and make sure it's presentable and readable. As you saw in mine, I really stress the point of bullet points and not getting too wordy. You don't want to get too informational, because then you get lost in the details. And while the details are important, SWOT analysis is designed to hit the main points, and then we'll work out the details later from what I have found. So, let's see here. All right. So there's been a lot of uses for SWOT. I learned about it again in that project that I just explained to you about a Thai food truck. That was the first time that I had ever heard of SWOT analysis, and the time that I had been in the business program at my college. I had never heard about it, and I thought my professor was a little crazy when she kept talking about SWOT analysis. But I found as I went through my business courses and my degree, even working in the professional environment, that this analysis is really useful and definitely something to learn. So uses of it, though, while you're in X Culture or even your international business courses, is obviously we'll have the deliverables of market analysis. So you can analyze the market that you're looking to expand into, where you're operating, let's say, in Germany, and you want to expand into Finland for whatever reason, and you identified the strengths of Finland, of operating in Finland, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats, and you can present that to the business that you're working with, and say, this is why we chose Finland as our, these are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats that we found of operating in Finland, and you can organize it and it's presentable, instead of writing tons and tons of pages of text that explain why it's good. You can simplify it into one and just make that proposal even stronger. The other nice thing about the SWOT analysis is that they're very versatile. You can use them not just for market analysis. You can use them, I found, for different aspects of your business or the business as a whole. It's not just limited to market analysis. It could be that you need to identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, threats of the business yourself, your financials, what are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats there. Just a very versatile analysis tool, and definitely useful when in X Culture and international business. So definitely work with your team members on this to get as much information as possible and diagram it out, So when you do the final proposal, that you'll be ready and you'll have everything ready to go, and you'll be able to answer any questions on why moving into this country over another is perfect, because we've identified it here. Some uses outside of X culture. So when you're done with X culture, obviously SWOT analyses are never going to go away. At least to my knowledge, they're not going to go away anytime soon. They're useful in writing business plans. So as you've seen with my Thai food truck idea, I used that SWOT analysis numerous times. I did have to alter it because things have changed since then when I used it the next time. But from every business plan or proposal that I have written for a new business, expanding a business, I've always come back to SWOT as a baseline to identify as a business what are some of the things that they're doing good, what are some of the things that they're weak in, and what's some opportunities that can come out with this business. So there's a versatility of SWOT outside of X culture. It's not just something that I can stress just for this competition. It can be used for anything outside of it, especially in the realm of business. If you're deciding that you want to start up your own, that's great. Maybe look at what some strengths of having your own business. What are some weaknesses that you have with it? With your product, what's some opportunities, and what can threaten your business model? So definitely really look into using the SWOT analysis for your business plans, business proposals, whatever it may be. Awesome tool to use. I couldn't stress it any more than anything. So definitely make sure you've done your research, done your homework on it, and diagram it out, write as many SWOT analyses that you need to make sure you get your point across. And don't be too detailed, but don't give too few details. Make sure it's that perfect fit of, I've hit my main points, and we can talk about these later, but these are what I've identified, and this is what's not good, and so on and so forth. So, all right. So, looks like we're at the conclusion of the webinar. I have a small Q&A session for any questions or anything, or if you want to, please reach out to me. My email address, I can give it to the coach or the head coaches, and they can disseminate that as necessary, but I am always open to answer any questions. So thanks for your time for listening to this. I hope this was informational and useful, and I wish you the best of luck in X Culture. And again, just reach out to myself or any other coaches if we can be of help.